Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Saturday, July 19th, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The weather in Riverside today will see a high of 87.1 degrees and a low of 66.1 degrees. It's shaping up to be a warm but comfortable day, perhaps ideal for a leisurely start to your weekend. Coming up on Alex's News, we'll delve into the extensive reasons why Elon Musk's significant federal overhaul reportedly resulted in widespread layoffs and a wave of lawsuits. This has sparked considerable debate and legal action. Following that, we'll examine the intriguing circumstances surrounding the unsealing of the infamous Epstein files, especially as this action took place amidst Trump's ongoing media lawsuit. All this and more coming up. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. We begin this morning with a groundbreaking and highly controversial story shaking the foundations of the U.S. federal government. What started as an ambitious effort to streamline operations has escalated into a wide-ranging overhaul, leaving a trail of layoffs and legal battles. For more on this, we turn to our reporter Ethan, who's been digging into the details of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Ethan, give us the scoop. What exactly is DOGE, and how did it come about?
Grace, it's certainly been a tumultuous period for federal workers. The Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE as it's known, was officially established on January 20th, 2025 by Executive Order 14,158, as reported by whitehouse.gov and congress.gov. This executive order basically reorganized the existing U.S. Digital Service, or USDS, renaming it the U.S. DOGE Service. Its stated goals, according to Wikipedia and Britannica, were to modernize federal technology, maximize government efficiency, and significantly cut what the administration called massive waste and fraud. They even created a temporary organization, the USDSTO, which is set to terminate on July 4th, 2026. So that's about 350 days from today.
So this isn't just a new department, it's a complete restructuring. And at the helm of this ambitious undertaking was none other than Elon Musk. How involved was he, and what kind of authority did he wield?
That's right, Grace. Elon Musk was appointed as a, quote, special government employee and served as a top advisor to President Trump. According to Al Jazeera and the Associated Press, President Trump himself described Musk as being, quote, in charge, and a court even declared him the DOGE leader. He was the driving force behind this efficiency drive, with the authority to implement widespread federal employee layoffs and agency restructuring between January and May of this year. His methods included quite stringent requirements, Grace, like requiring federal employees to detail their weekly accomplishments or face termination, and mandating a return to in-office work, as the Associated Press uncovered. He was really barking up the efficiency tree, you could say.
Talk about a demanding boss. And it sounds like his efforts had a significant impact on the federal workforce. Can you give us a clearer picture of the scale of these layoffs and how many people have been affected?
The impact has been staggering, Grace. DOGE's implementation led to very aggressive measures to downsize the federal workforce. We've seen tens of thousands of federal employees either fired or accepting buyouts. For instance, according to Al Jazeera and the Associated Press, by mid-February, over 9,500 federal workers were reportedly laid off, with another 75,000 offered buyouts. And by late May, reports from the Global Government Forum indicated over 113,000 federal employees had left or been laid off since the administration began. Just to put that into perspective, the New York Times reported as of early June that over 12% of the 2.4 million civilian federal workforce were either confirmed cuts, buyouts, or planned reductions. Many of these, according to the Associated Press, were probationary employees, lacking the civil service protection that longer-term employees have. It's certainly a tough pill for many to swallow.
That's an incredible number of people. Which specific agencies have felt the sharpest bite of these budget cuts and personnel reductions?
Well, quite a few, Grace. The United States Agency for International Development, USAID, experienced some of the deepest cuts, totaling over $6 billion, according to Doge records. Nearly 7,000 employees were reportedly put on leave or fired. As of July 1st, USAID officially ceased implementing foreign assistance, with Secretary of Defense Marco Rubio deeming its work as not serving American interests, as reported by Civil Eats and the Kyiv Independent. This is set to cause anticipated shortages of life-saving malnutrition treatment globally. The Department of Agriculture laid off 4,200 employees, including staff crucial for bird flu response, as Producer.com detailed. The IRS saw terminations, with plans to cut about half of its 90,000 staff, and the Department of Education faced a nearly 50% staff reduction. Even FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, saw hundreds of firings, leading to concerns about disaster readiness and potential long-standing consequences, according to Politico. It's been a sweeping movement across the board.
It sounds like no agency was safe from these efficiency measures. One of the main arguments for this overhaul was significant cost savings. Has Doge actually delivered on its promise of cutting federal spending?
That's the million-dollar question, Grace, or in this case, the multi-billion-dollar question. Doge's initial goal was to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget. That was then revised to $1 trillion, and then further reduced to $150 billion, according to the Associated Press. While the White House claims Doge has saved taxpayers billions through various means like asset sales and workforce reductions, it's not a clear-cut picture. Economists have projected that a 10% reduction in the federal workforce could save roughly $350 billion over 10 years. However, these estimates often don't factor in the costs of buyout offers, agency reorganization, or the extensive litigation this whole process has triggered. As of today, July 19, 2025, there are no details on any independent financial audits confirming net long-term cost savings that include all these factors, as the Global Government Forum has pointed out. In fact, public opinion surveys from June indicated that a majority of Americans believed these cuts would actually harm the economy and make the country less safe, according to the Partnership for Public Service. It's truly a tangled web of finances.
And speaking of that extensive litigation, we've heard about numerous lawsuits challenging Doge's actions. What are the main legal arguments being made against this overhaul?
It's truly a legal maelstrom, Grace. A coalition of unions, nonprofits, and local governments, including cities like Chicago and Baltimore, have filed lawsuits arguing that Doge and Musk's actions are unconstitutional because Congress hasn't authorized the department to dictate staffing or spending cuts. According to KNCX and the Associated Press, they contend Doge lacks statutory power. Elon Musk himself has been named in some lawsuits, with opponents arguing he's been illegally acting as an officer of the U.S. government without the required presidential nomination and Senate confirmation, violating the Constitution's Appointments Clause. There are also numerous wrongful termination lawsuits, allegations of privacy violations, and even a federal judge extending an order preventing Doge from accessing Treasury Department payment systems due to concerns over sensitive financial data. The Sierra Club has also sued over layoffs in public lands agencies. Despite lower courts initially freezing many firings, the Supreme Court overrode those orders on July 8th, allowing the cuts to continue, as reported by the Global Government Forum. It's a high-stakes legal drama.
It sounds like a lot of legal wrangling, even after some key figures have departed. What's the latest on Elon Musk's involvement, and what's the future looking like for Doge?
Grace, Elon Musk announced his departure from his government role as a top advisor to President Trump on May 29th, stating his time as a, quote, special government employee had ended. His tenure officially concluded on May 30th, according to Al Jazeera and the Associated Press, and was indeed marked by significant upheaval and what the Associated Press described as the, quote, evisceration of government agencies. Despite struggling with Washington's environment and clashing with other officials, Musk maintained that the Doge mission would, quote, only strengthen over time. However, his departure leaves much of the federal government in disarray, with a demoralized workforce and ongoing legal battles over Doge's actions. The U.S. Doge Service Temporary Organization is still slated to terminate next year on July 4, 2026, but the operational status of Doge beyond that is currently unclear.
Ethan, thank you for breaking down this incredibly complex and fluid situation. It sounds like this is far from over.
My pleasure, Grace.
We'll continue to follow this story. Up next, we're taking a look at a new report on housing market trends across the country. Stay with us. We are turning now to a fascinating and complex legal saga that's been brewing, involving the Justice Department, Jeffrey Epstein, and a major lawsuit from President Donald Trump. To help us untangle these threads, we have our news reporter Chloe with the latest. Chloe, what exactly is the Justice Department doing with the Epstein files?
Grace, it's quite a significant development. The U.S. Justice Department, under the direction of Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, officially filed a motion just yesterday, Friday, July 18, 2025, in Manhattan Federal Court. According to reporting from Fox News and CBS News, they are moving to unseal the long-secret grand jury transcripts from Jeffrey Epstein's 2019 proceedings, as well as those related to Ghislaine Maxwell. Think of grand jury testimony as the sworn statements given by witnesses behind closed doors before a group of citizens decides if there's enough evidence to bring charges. The DOJ also plans to seek the release of transcripts from Epstein's initial investigation in Florida back in the 2000s. It's a comprehensive effort aimed at greater transparency.
Transparency is the stated goal, then. But this comes after quite a bit of public dissatisfaction with the DOJ's previous review of the Epstein files, doesn't it?
That's absolutely right, Grace. The Justice Department, according to AP News, is articulating this as a commitment to, quote, transparency to the American public, end quote, and a response to, quote, intense public interest, end quote. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche emphasized that public officials and ordinary citizens remain deeply interested in the Epstein matter. However, this move directly follows an internal DOJ and FBI review, whose memo, released on July 7, 2025, concluded no evidence was found to charge additional uncharged third parties. No, quote, incriminating client list, end quote, was found, and Epstein died by suicide. That earlier announcement, as PBS.org reported, was widely described as, quote, anticlimactic, end quote, and fueled a firestorm of criticism. This unsealing is certainly seen as a direct response to that outcry, though the actual unsealing process will be lengthy, taking weeks or months to redact victim names and private information.
So it's a big move for transparency, but some might say it's also a politically charged one, especially given some of the names involved. We know Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche have strong ties to President Trump. How does that fit into this picture?
That's a critical piece of this puzzle, Grace. While the DOJ frames its actions as a commitment to public transparency, several sources, including Politico and Newsweek, suggest political motivations are heavily influencing this decision. The unsealing motion comes directly at the explicit direction of President Donald Trump. According to Fox News, he publicly called for the DOJ to, quote, produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval, end quote, labeling the situation a, quote, scam perpetuated by the Democrats, end quote. This directive from the president followed closely on the heels of the Wall Street Journal's report detailing an alleged, quote, bawdy, end quote, birthday letter from Trump to Epstein, which Trump vehemently denies. Both Attorney General Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Blanche served as key figures on Trump's legal teams, with Bondi during his first impeachment and Blanche on his defense team in the 2024 New York City criminal trial. It seems like a strategic chess move with a lot of pieces on the board.
And speaking of that Wall Street Journal report, this all ties into President Trump's substantial $10 billion libel lawsuit against the Journal and Rupert Murdoch. Can you give us the details on that?
Indeed, Grace, the plot thickens, or perhaps I should say, the print gets smaller in this unfolding narrative. Just yesterday, Friday, July 18, 2025, Donald Trump filed a staggering $10 billion libel lawsuit in the Southern District of Florida against the Wall Street Journal, its publisher Dow Jones & Company, its parent company News Corporation, its chairman emeritus Rupert Murdoch, and reporters Joseph Palazzolo and Khadija Safdar. According to reporting from CBS News and the Los Angeles Times, Trump alleges the newspaper published a, quote, false, malicious, and defamatory, end quote, story about a, quote, sexually suggestive, end quote, birthday letter allegedly sent by him to Jeffrey Epstein in 2003. The Journal's controversial article, published on Thursday, July 17, 2025, reported that this alleged letter was part of a birthday album compiled by Ghislaine Maxwell for Epstein, featuring Trump's signature and a drawing of a naked woman. Trump has vehemently denied any involvement, stating, quote, "I never wrote a picture in my life. I don't draw pictures of women. It's not my language. It's not my words," end quote. Dow Jones, the Journal's publisher, has affirmed their confidence in their reporting and will, quote, vigorously defend, end quote, against the lawsuit.
It sounds like a lot of legal battles are converging at once. But this isn't the first time the public has demanded more information about the Epstein case, is it? There's been a consistent push for transparency.
Not at all, Grace. As the Independent UK has reported, the Justice Department's move to unsealed grand jury testimony comes after years of increasing public and political pressure. Demands for disclosure really intensified after that earlier Justice Department memo on July 7, 2025, which, as Time.com notes, was widely criticized for its, quote, anticlimactic, end quote, conclusion. There's been deep public interest and concern about the Epstein case, with lingering questions about other potential individuals involved. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle have also publicly called for a comprehensive disclosure of the, quote, Epstein files, end quote. A precedent for unsealing such materials was even set when a Florida judge previously ordered the release of some of Epstein's grand jury records from a state-level trafficking case, famously citing Epstein as, quote, the most infamous pedophile in American history, end quote, and describing the case as a, quote, tale of national disgrace, end quote. So this latest unsealing motion is truly a continuation of that long-standing push for accountability and clarity.
It sounds like a real legal and political chess match playing out before our eyes, with plenty of twists and turns still to come. Chloe, thank you for expertly breaking down such a complex and ongoing story for us this morning.
My pleasure, Grace.
And just to reiterate for our viewers, the sources for this report include Fox News, CBS News, Yahoo.com, The Hindu, Politico, AP News, PBS.org, YouTube, Y.org, Newsweek, Sky News, Al Jazeera, Wikipedia, Los Angeles Times, Independent.co.uk, India Times, WCNC.com, Keat.com, CTVnews.ca, ITV.net, Times of Israel, TheJournal.ie, OneNews.co.nz, KSL. Here are some other headlines. Feathered friends have been making quite a splash, or rather, a splash out of storm drains, across the globe, proving that community spirit is truly excellent. From Smithfield, Maine, where 6 ducklings were swimming for their lives before being rescued by Maine Wildlife Transport's Dan Foss and the Department of Transportation, a true feather in the cap for collaborative action. Foss, by the way, is looking for more volunteers to help transport animals, so if you're feeling ducky, consider lending a wing. Just days later, in Northborough, Massachusetts, 10 more little quackers found themselves in a tight spot. Local children, police, and public works employees Robo and Dave teamed up for a draining but successful rescue, reuniting the ducklings with their proud mama. Talk about a heartwarming community effort. It truly takes a village to raise a flock. The duckling rescue saga continued across the border in Regina, Canada, where 7 more little ones took an unexpected dive at the University of Regina. Bonnie Dell from the Wildlife Rescue Society of Saskatchewan highlighted the urgency of these rescues, noting that little ducklings can quickly get chilled to the bone or swept away. Multiple volunteers responded, and the WRSOS is now engaging the city of Regina to gratefully review opening sizes on storm drains to prevent future incidents. These incidents are apparently more common than you might think during mating season, as mothers are always on the hunt for the perfect swimming hole for their newly hatched brood. Down in Westland, Michigan, near City Hall, 8 ducklings found themselves in a real pickle, or perhaps a puddle. Passers-by spotted them, prompting 2 officers from Animal Care and Control and a Department of Public Services crew to spring into action. Armed with a net, a hook, and plenty of teamwork, they got those ducklings out, watching them waddle off to swim freely in a local stream shortly after. And the ducking and diving didn't stop there. In Rocky Hill, Connecticut, 11 ducklings were scooped to safety by firefighters after a distressed mother duck caught their attention, swiftly reunited at a nearby pond. The California Men's Colony Fire Department in San Luis Obispo had their own confined space drama, carefully rescuing baby ducklings from a storm drain before transferring them to a local wildlife center. Across the pond in Grimsby, England, 11 more ducklings were saved by Cleethorpes wildlife rescue volunteers and a resident after their mother lost them, needing a short stay indoors due to the chilling conditions of their underground ordeal. Harris Hill Elementary School in New York had a very quactive day when 8 ducklings were rescued from a storm drain by the local fire company, SRO Jill Pizzino, and school staff, who even gave them a grand escort through the school building. Meanwhile, last year saw similar heroic efforts. In Newington, Connecticut, first responders and animal control had to get creative, with a firefighter actually climbing into a storm drain to save 3 little ducklings. And talk about dedication. In Red Bank, New Jersey, volunteer firefighters and animal control spent over an hour coaxing a single duckling out of a 100-foot-long underground pipe, using recorded duck calls and even a fire hose to lure it to safety. It seems community members truly rise to the occasion when these little featherweights are in trouble. Now, moving from drains to dough, a small town, name undisclosed, is currently kneading its way to culinary fame as it prepares for its highly anticipated annual bake-off competition. This isn't just a piece of cake to organize. It's often the sweetest highlight on the community calendar, bringing together residents of all ages and skill levels for a day that truly takes the cake for friendly competition, delicious treats, and community spirit. It's a wonderful opportunity for folks to showcase local talent and strengthen community bonds, proving that nothing brings people together quite like the aroma of freshly baked goods. The competition features various categories, ensuring everyone from junior bakers to seasoned pros can rise to the challenge, with entries needing to be home-baked, not store-bought. No soggy bottoms allowed. A panel of judges, often including local eatery owners or community leaders, will be evaluating entries on taste, creativity, originality, and appearance. Some say a few celebrity judges might even drop by to offer their expert Pilates. The event, usually held in a central community space like a park or hall, transforms into a confectionery wonderland, with bakers proudly displaying their decorated masterpieces. While ribbons and certificates are certainly sweet, cash prizes or gift baskets add that extra icing on the cake for the winners. Beyond the sugary showdown, these bake-offs are fantastic for fostering social connections, allowing residents to meet new people and strengthen friendships. It truly sounds like a recipe for success for this charming community. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 4.0, Gemini Pro 2.5, Gemini Flash 2.5, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.